Hello and welcome to a special edition of the France 24 debate. Here we very often argue about the pros and cons of globalization of a world that's gotten smaller. Well, one of those common denominators is the music we make, buy, and listen to. The evolution of the industry in the digital age. We're talking about it with a French artist who started out in rap and has since gone global with music that makes the most of new technology. Wax Taylor, thanks for joining us. Thanks as well to an outstanding vocalist who comes to us from Canada.
Thanks for having me.
Kelly Lee Evans' latest album, I Remember When, available on Universal Records. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks.
Thanks as well to a woman who grew up in the suburbs of Tunis, where she heard the protest songs of the 60s.
صاحب واحد يعرف ما يرد عليا ما لقيت موجة تبحر بيا.
Singer-songwriter Emel Meklouti, front and center since the start of the Arab uprising. Your latest release, a song dedicated to assassinated Tunisian opposition leader Choukri Belaid. Thank you for being with us. And last but not least, the instruments may be old, but the founder of the Music Agency makes his living promoting and producing classical music artists with a modern twist. Samuel Gonzalez, welcome to the show.
Thank you for
Who are we listening to there?
It's Lucille Boulanger, gambis player, and her partner Arnaud de Pasquale, harpsichordist.
Harpsichord.
So they are all the instruments.
Okay, so that's taken us from what, the 15th century?
17th.
17th century to 2013. And when the dust settles on 2013, what songs and stories will stay in our heads? Well, here's what Mark Thompson and Cécile Kindria came up with.
Hey, sugar, take a walk on the wild side. And the coast
She's up all night to the sun. I'm up all night to get some. She's up all night for good fun. I'm up all night to get lucky.
Can't let it get past me. We're far from plastic. Talking about getting blasted. Blurred lines.
I came in like a wrecking ball. I never hit so hard in love. And baby, let me live that fantasy.
Bam!
All right, so the word twerking entered the Oxford Dictionary. We know that. But when you look back at the year, Wax Taylor, what do you think musically will stand out the most?
Regarding to what most of the people will think, or regarding to
Popular
what
music culture. What will people remember?
about 2013?
Yeah.
Probably we've seen like the Robin Thicke and the Daft Punk. Maybe that would not be my choices, but that's how it is. For me, this year I remember about Atoms for Peace. For fall, maybe Agnès Obel. That is a very nice album, and a lot of things that are most of like usual. I mean, it's not the most popular, but that's how it is.
Not the most popular. We're going to talk about Atoms for Peace a little bit later on. It's interesting when you, Kelly Lee Evans, look at the artists, of course, that are commercially popular. They're not necessarily the ones that leave a mark.
I don't know. I think they do leave a mark. For me, they've commercially popular artists for me have always left a mark. We talked earlier before the show about Whitney Houston and I mean, I'm a child of popular culture. I've always enjoyed pop music, and my kids are growing up much in the same way. And I looked at, just so many of those artists. I didn't know most of them because I spend so much time in pop culture. So it's really interesting. Although I live in this world of jazz and I perform music that is like not commercially popular, I still do pay attention to pop music, and it does leave a mark on me in many different ways, whether it's just that I want to move, that I want to forget. I think of music more as something, best thing that somebody said to me this year after a concert a couple weeks ago was, "Thanks for helping me forget my life for the last 2 hours." And that's what that is. I think, it's not brain surgery that we're doing, but we're saving lives in different ways. And I think it's better to just enjoy music for what it is. And it can be a great escape. And if it's popular music or you're using classical music, highbrow music or quote unquote lowbrow music to escape, who cares?
Emmanuel Makhlouti, you're the junior member of this panel at 31. Do you feel sometimes when you look at, do you get moments now where you like, oh, I don't know that artist? You feel, oh my God, I'm old.
No, I guess I know most of them.
Right.
And as Wax Taylor said, that wouldn't be maybe my choices. But yeah, I decided to be more connected these last 2 years because I realized that I was stuck in the 90s and that it was the inspiration of my last album, and maybe it was a critic. So I decided, okay, I'm going to be connected. And
so what, you force yourself to
Yeah.
listen to stuff that you don't necessarily like?
If the 3 first seconds don't work, I don't continue. But it's quite interesting to look at what's happening and what's going on. Sometimes it's funny, like the Miley Cyrus video clip, and sometimes it's serious because I get angry because music should not. Because some music is pushed a lot to people's ears, and sometimes people are not very responsible. They don't really choose what they're listening to. So yeah, sometimes I get angry because we have to be very careful.
I suppose, Samuel, that you're surrounded by artists who all day long say that there's a diktat, there's groupthink. This is what we all have to listen to.
No, it depends. I think there are today's with internet, you got a lot of things, to discover, and it's our own choice, to listen to what we like. But basically, I think also people goes for facility, and of course, when you play the radio, I love to play the radio also to know what people are listening at and what is moving in society. But
do you feel as though we're all having the same conversation? As you say, it's no longer. When I was a kid, there was one radio station that you would listen to for pop music. And by the way, that radio station would play a Sammy Davis Jr. song, followed by something by the Beatles, followed by something by a group that was playing something that was more hard rock. And so you would have all these different things, but it was one radio station. Do you feel as though we're all having the same conversation when it comes to popular music, or more and more we're talking at cross purposes?
I don't know. I think you've got a lot of kind of medias. You got still the specialized medias, jazz radios, pop radios, but there is a lot of channels also. Like I'm thinking about FIP, for example, or a lot of others who are really mixing. You know, they are playing pop after classical, then electro, hard rock, and this is amazing. You know, because I don't know, and I'm always asking myself how they found the transition. You know, between a hard rock piece and after a classical one, but it works, you know, and it makes people, I think, interested and listen to the radio.
When you produce music, do you have pressures on you saying, well, let's target the, I don't know, 18 to 35-year-old crowd, and let's target this demographic?
No, you know, I'm an indie producer, and that's my luxury. I mean, it's also like a lot of problems because it's a huge work, but that's my luxury. I got no pressure. But the thing just about what he was saying is just also that I think right now things are changing in a way that we go more and more in specialized, like you get more and more small things. It's not only like the mass media, and with the internet, I think we can open doors to different kind of stuff, but it needs to be specialized that it's not so easy also about the internet thing, because nowadays, like a lot of people are saying, like artists, they don't need managers, they don't need this, they don't need that, because with the internet they can do whatever they want. But I also think that we still need the keys. It's like a library with nobody to explain you, because it depends where you grew up, how you grew up, and all those things. And if I mean, having internet is limited to go to Skyrock or whatever, to the website that I associate with, I don't think it changed so much. But it's an open door, and that's an option.
I was going to ask you because there's a lot of talk about what they call these electronic dance music, where people who do the same thing as you, basically it's do-it-yourself kits.
Yep.
And you don't do that. And
I mean, it's again. I mean, this thing about the field, the supposed to be field of electronics thing. I don't know exactly what it means nowadays. But the do-it-yourself is like again a concept that needs to be explained in details, because it depends a lot. Like it's like when you talk about indie nowadays, like in independent labels, you got a very large panel of a different reality. It goes from very auto production, from very small artists doing everything, to labels that are supposed to be independent but are very near to major companies.
But people who say, for instance, that anyone with a smartphone is a potential photographer, is it the same with anyone with a laptop is a potential musician? You were saying the opposite, that no, you need to know...
I don't think so, but it's not the interesting thing is just that it depends if you think about the tools or about the creativity, because you need to use any kind of stuff, but the creativity must be first, and I think it will still be the same for years, because some people, that's the vision from outside, like nowadays with the tools you can do whatever, but if you got a little bit of consideration to the music, I think you feel when people got some creativity or not.
Samuel Gonzalez, let me ask you a question about Wax Taylor, which is when you see, for instance, he performed with a symphony orchestra. He's going to be doing it again in the coming year. When you see the way his music is assembled, would you say he is a songwriter or a composer in the classical music sense?
Well, I think he comes from rap music, so I think he might be a rapper before, but I think he's an excellent DJ, and he's a composer for that, because he knows to take something here, to put something there, and arrange a global thing. And I think I've never listened to the project with the orchestra, but it might be a little bit like this, you know, like the same thing that he does maybe in his home studio, but at the big scale and a live scale, which is really risky, I think, and it adds really interest to his music, I think.
How many instruments will there be when you do this?
About 40 musicians and 20 singers.
So is it like in the old days? You have to write the score for 40?
Actually, I gotta say, I work with someone for the orchestration, because I do some kind of arrangement, but it's a very different thing from having some lines and say, I want this kind of melody, this kind of arrangement, and knowing exactly who's supposed to play the first violin, who's supposed to play the cello and all that. So again, I got no classical experience experience and no classical. I mean, I'm not able to do the whole thing alone for the orchestra thing, but I want to be part of the process about the arrangement, and so I choose some arrangement, and it's more about the discussion I can have with someone I work with.
Kelly Levitt, when you're recording, how much do you own the conversation about how you produce the album, how you put together this music?
Every project's been different. The first two albums that I did were entirely written by me. And the first album, I chose a producer, and he was just really like, what do you want to do? And I was able to pretty much say, this is the line of bass. This is the bass line. This is what I want the guitar to sound like. This is what I want everything to sound like. Second album was similar. I used GarageBand to build the bass and the tracks, and then had my musicians play what I had kind of fleshed out in GarageBand. And with this album that we worked with here, this was a project between the producer, Eric Linini, and Sébastien Vidal. And Eric and I got in the studio, and we would listen to things and build the songs together, and then went into the studio and brought the musicians in. So every single situation has been different. I've had to learn how to kind of open up to letting other people participate. And that's what I was like just listening to you talk about, working with the arrangers and, well, having the arrangements yourself and then working with an orchestrator. Just that, I think, that's, I guess, the difference when you get up to the outside of working and being everything being self-produced. You learn how to bring other people and other voices and other people into the mix, and to be part of a team. And that's what working with Universal and a major label has been for me as well, learning to say, okay, yeah, I've been there, I've made the posters, I've put up the posters, I've done all that stuff. Now, how do I let other people come into this, my business, my brand, and create as well?
And then Cloutier, very quickly, because we have to go to the break in a second, but the pressure's on you. Your music is based a lot on the lyrics.
Yeah, but it's also very musical. I mean, I'm touring almost times in countries where people don't understand a single word. So my music is half lyrics and half music too.
Do you see yourself one day doing a project like this with 40 musicians?
Well, we shared a quite similar experience, because recently I had a project with a quartet, strings, cello, 2 violins, and contrebass. And for me, it's a dream. And when I listen to the recordings, I really wish to make it bigger and bigger and bigger.
All right. And when we come back with the France 24 debate, we're going to be asking our panel if they made any money this year. Stay with us.
She's up all night for good fun. I'm up all night to get what? We're up all night till the sun. We're up all night to get some. We're up all night for good fun. We're up all night to get what? 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 We're up all night to get what?